There is an inflation wave coming in America that most people don't see coming. I want to explain to you why it's coming and what it's going to do to our nation and our middle class. It's going to wipe a lot of people out. You're going to see a lot of unemployment. Unemployment is going to start spiking. And I want you to understand that Jerome Powell was completely dead wrong. Think about this. Remember the term transitory inflation? He said it a few years ago, and he was dead 100% wrong. And I know the reason why he's not wanting to lower rates is because he does understand that this inflation is not only stubbornly high, and I don't believe the government numbers. Do you believe the government numbers? Type yes or no down below if you do. I'm curious because I'm going to read you some government numbers, and then I'm going to explain this time delay or time decay, for lack of better terms, or maybe it's a really good term, the decay of the value of our dollar. And as I read you these stories, I want to remind you that just the other day I did a story that JP Morgan came out and said they believe the dollar index is going to fall 6.7% over the next 12 months. That means that things are going to go up. They're going to get more expensive. And there's a huge opportunity. So here we go. Real quick, for today, I'm putting over 90% off for the real estate cycles and crash course. It teaches you about real estate cycles. If you want to be challenged and start thinking differently about how real estate goes up and down and when and why it does, links down below. I guarantee you're going to start figuring out how to make a lot of money from this downturn. All right. Out of CNBC, I've got two stories to share with you. Core inflation rate rose 2.7% in May, which was more than expected, the Fed's preferred gauge shows. Isn't it weird that we're getting news stories where the Federal Reserve, it's unexpected. I didn't know this was coming. The truth is, these policymakers actually do know what's going on because it doesn't take a mathematician or a college graduate to figure out how inflation works when it comes to the money supply. I, for one, I barely made it out of high school. I think they did a favor to my parents to give me a diploma, and then I couldn't make it through college, okay? So it doesn't take a brainiac to figure this out. Now, the PCE, which stands for Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, the Fed's primary inflation reading rose a seasonally adjusted 0.1% for the month, putting annual inflation rate at 2.3%. Now, you guys know, I'm sure everyone here knows that the Fed likes to keep inflation at or a little below 2%. Now, to explain that really clearly, and I'm not joking, it's that they know that at 2% inflation, your purchasing power of your currency is constantly going down. And more than likely, your wages are not keeping up with that inflation rate. And they know that at 2%, people won't riot. I'm not joking. Think about back to the Boston Tea Party. That was a tax on tea, and it was a very small tax at that, yet it started and caused a revolution. This is the most finest, most brilliant theft in history, and that is central banking. Central banking causes your purchasing power to constantly go down, and because of the access to credit throughout our country, and think about this, the amount of credit available around the world is really primarily focused in America and Europe, right? So Canada, America, and Europe. And what happens is you don't realize that you are a slave to the system. Constantly working, constantly, in the factories working to make the top 1% even richer. Now, be honest, type 1 if that pisses you off. And then do me a favor and type 11 if you want out of that rat race. Because that truly is the case. You're in a rat race. And this inflation is going to get worse. And I'm going to explain that in just a second. But it says here, consumer spending and income showed further signs of weakening. Spending fell 0.1% for the month, while personal income declined 0.4%. These are straight up out of the Fed numbers showing you that our economy is turning down, and it's turning down fast. Think about this. Spending fell 0.1%. Well, why is that? It's because people have less money. Because they have to put more money towards their electric bill, their gas bill, their gasoline bill. Everything's getting more expensive. Everything at the grocery store. It hasn't gone down. Sure, has lumber gone down since the pandemic? Yeah. Is it back to where it was before the pandemic? No. And I'm sorry to say, I really don't think it's going to get there because of the tariffs, because of trade wars, because of all kinds of things. This is going to be worse than just a supply and demand issue. All right? It also says here again, personal income declined 0.4%. So what I just said is completely happening. And you guys know, I don't read these stories until I'm reading them with you, right? We're going through them. Now, that's the whole thing on that story I want to show you. Like right here, more than expected. The Fed didn't expect it. Bull crap. It's just like Jerome Powell telling you that inflation's not going to be all across the nation. It's going to be transitory. But I want to remind you what Ben Bernanke said in 2005. The housing market isn't going to crash all across the country. It can't do that. It's just going to be some localized areas. These guys are completely wrong. But the thing is how many people are believing it? It blows my mind. Ben Bernanke should be flogged and, tarred and feathered. But he gets paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to go around the country and speak. This is how dumb people are. But I gotta be honest with you. To me, all I see when I think of all the people that are drinking the Kool-Aid, all I see is opportunities. You try and warn people. You try and warn your family and friends. They don't listen. Then let's go take advantage of it. I'm going to explain that in a second. So now, the next story I want to go over real quick, the deep economy. This is out of CNBC too. Inside the U.S. economy, more sticker prices start going up due to tariffs and inventory is headed down. It says the latest inflation data came in hotter than expected, and Nike warned in its earnings on Thursday that prices will be going up due to higher tariffs. Across the U.S. retail and manufacturing distribution chains, inventory has started to be re-ticketed with higher prices by between 8 and 15%, according to its ITS logistics, including for apparel and consumer product goods. I'm gonna be honest. There's never in my life been a better time, I think, to go thrift storing and buying up things that people have turned in and reselling them on the internet. I used to do that. I would go to Ross. Here, now think about this. This is what should give you hope and excitement, all right? Even when I was flipping real estate, I was going to Ross. I was a full-time firefighter making six figures, like $102,000 a year, okay? It's not that impressive. It was a blessing of a job. But what I mean is, that wasn't enough to fulfill my desires to be wealthy, right? So I would go to Ross and I would go buy shirts off the rack and sell them on eBay for more. Yeah, I would only make like $10, $15 more, but every week I would buy more and more and more, and I would have this huge inventory that I was flipping, right? Well, right now there's never been a better time because people can't afford to buy these insane sticker prices, and they're gonna want stuff, and so there's gonna be a gap to fill. So think about that. It says here, did I read this part? No. The footwear industry says it expects prices to rise by 6 and 10%. Okay, so now let me explain why this inflation wave is going to get even worse. A handful of years ago, back in 2007, especially in California, but it was happening all over the nation, a barrel of oil rose over $100, went to 110, 120, and it topped out, I believe, at 137 a barrel, if my memory serves me right. Around that time, in the construction trades, we were getting surcharges for fuel surcharges. Depending on where our jobs were, we were flipping homes, they were tacking on, hey, we had to drive, 10 minutes to you, 20 minutes to you, so we're adding a fuel surcharge. And people were taking it because they're like, well, the fuel's going up, we get it, it's a pain point. And this is the exact same thing happening. Well, back then, we started to see semi-trucks pulling over, and it was on the news. They're like, we're not even delivering this load because we negotiated it, months ago, and now we don't have the money. We're losing money because the fuel's too much, regardless of what we agreed on. Well, that's happening now. See, there are prices right now. People are just like, well, the tariffs. And I told you, and I back these tariffs. But the point is that there is going to be short-term pain. And if you prepare for it, you're going to have long-term gain because people aren't paying attention to this and thinking, hey, this is really a thing. I go on Facebook right now. You guys know that I've told you that the car market's going to collapse, right? And where it always starts, just like with real estate, is the highest priced cars, the highest priced homes. Right now, you can go and buy all these luxury cars for a lot less than they cost a year ago or 2 years ago, because people don't have the money and they're trying to offload stuff. Luxury goods are going down farther and farther, but it's going to get bigger than that. Real estate prices are dropping. I'm looking at realtor.com in my own city where I live. Foreclosure listings, 1, 2, 3 on the first page of realtor.com. You didn't see any foreclosure listings a year ago, even 6 months ago. You really didn't see any of them advertised, but it's happening, all right? And you're gonna have some time, but right now you've gotta set money aside. You've gotta prepare for this. You gotta get out of debt. You gotta build your credit score. Start thinking differently. You know, so many of my students, when my first real estate class came out, the one that's on sale right now, if you want to change your mindset, I'm not joking, it will do that. It'll teach you about real estate cycles and how to prepare for all this stuff and the advantages you could take and how to make money, like real money from this. They would sit there and they'd say, I never thought of it this way. And I had so many real estate agents that took the course. And they said, I can actually teach my clients and have a better, well-educated client so that they're making better, more informed decisions. And I know that I'm gonna have them longer because of these lessons. And one of the biggest things, the takeaways that I wanna give you is that these actions take a long time to happen, right? Like when I talk about, hey, market's crashing, it is. The dollar is going down in value because inflation is going up. They correlate. There's gnats everywhere. Stop bugging me, bugs. It's so easy to get ready for this. It's crazy. If you guys want the course, over 90% off today, links down below. I want people to start thinking different, because if you think differently about money and finance and cycles, you're gonna make a lot of it. And that's what I want you to do. I want 1 million people to become millionaires. That's my mission on the channel, because I believe that this channel only attracts really good people with big hearts. And just like in sports, it doesn't matter how big you are. It doesn't matter, really a lot of that comes down to how well you do based off of heart. And I believe that people watching this video even today, and the channel, the subscribers, have amazing heart. You guys do me a favor, if you agree with that, just type 100. Let's freaking crush it today. I hope you have an awesome day. The Economic Ninja is out.